Well, hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is day 2 of our private practice summit, so to speak. August is private practice month. We are so excited, couldn't be more excited actually, to be supporting all the private practices out there. The EntreMD brand is all about helping private practices thrive and not just survive. We're all about thriving and making your private practices everything you wanted it to be, helping you live life and practice medicine on your own terms is what we're all about. And this private practice month is no different. We are here for our private practice owners. We're here to give you practical tips and tricks that can build your private practice up, that can help you get the private practice that you deserve, that your patients deserve, something that you're proud of, something that you can that can help you uh, operate the way you want and also live the way you want. So with that being said, Dr. Una has a new book out, and that book is called The Private Practice Playbook. OMG, it is fantastic. It's coming out August 13th, but guess what? You don't have to wait till August 13th. You can have access to it right now. As a matter of fact, if you go to entremd.com/private practice book, you can get the first chapter absolutely free. Thank you, Dr. Una. Not only can you get the first chapter free, we also have an assessment on there. Isn't that so good? We have an assessment that lets you see how profitable your practice is. And not only that, what you can do to start making it more profitable. Because at the end of the day, the more profitable your practice is, the more impact you can have, the more patients you can see, the more things you can do in the community, and the more freedom you have in your personal life. It's a win-win all around, and we want to help you get there. So again, entremd.com/private practice book. Now, today I am going to talk to you about how to inject cash into your private practice. And if we haven't met, my name is Makeda, and I have the privilege of working with Dr. Una in the EntreMD brand. And it's our pleasure to help private practice owners get more cash into their practices. And you may be listening to me and you may have a cash goal that you want to reach, or you may be listening to me and you may realize that, you know what, I would really love to see this amount of money enter my bank account, or I would really love for my practice to get to this next milestone. I'm going to share with you some tips that you can start using right away. And not only can you start using them right away, guess what? Your staff can start using them right away. That's how easy they are. So I'm going to I'm going to start off with the first one. Now, the first one is collecting owed monies. Now, that may seem very simple, right? But guess what? Your patients have balances. You ask them for the payment. It's that simple. And one of the best ways to do this is when they're in front of you. When your patient comes for their visit, get your staff to ask them also for their past balances. Sometimes patients aren't even aware that they have past balances. So sometimes you need to let them know, oh, that Miss Jane, did you know that you have a past balance? Let's get that taken care of today. And I used to work in Dr. Una's practice in the front, before I started doing other things with her. Yeah, I can't tell you how many times patients were willing to pay. And I can't tell you how many times patients didn't even know, were completely clueless that they had past the balances. So number one is ask, just ask. Okay. And this is something your staff can do on quote downtime. Let downtime not be a time where they clean or, they organize files or, send unnecessary faxes. Let that be a time that actually generates revenue for the practice. That can be a time where they actually get on the phone and make phone calls and say, Mr. Tom, Miss Jane, we see that you have a past due balance. Is that something we can take care of today? We'd love to get you caught up, you know? And one of the things that I have to tell you as a private practice owner is don't put your opinion in somebody else's pocket. Don't try and figure it out for the person. Don't assume the person can't afford to pay. I can't tell you how many times somebody has complained about a $35 copay, then we see them drive off in a $60,000 car. You don't assume that they can't afford to pay, and don't assume that they're not willing to pay either. It could be that they're just not aware. And it could be that, yes, they can afford to pay. You just need to ask them and put your foot down, you know. And then the other part about collecting old monies is kind of a part that we don't like to do because it requires us to follow up with our biller. Oh, you know, Dr. Una made us make some declarations and some decisions yesterday. I don't know if you were on yesterday, but if you missed yesterday's live, you can still catch it on Facebook. You can still catch it on YouTube. She had us make some decisions about following up with our billers, about running the practice the way a business is supposed to be run, not running it, as a charity. We're running it as a business. So that includes follow up with the biller, making sure all the claims have been sent out, making sure all the denials have been reworked so that you are getting the maximum amount of money that you're supposed to get for each patient for the work that's already been done. I mean, I remember when Dr. Una talked about Dr. Ebony, and there was thousands of dollars from work that she already did that was captured. So, number one, collect those old monies. Number two, proactively fill up your schedule. Now, this seems very simple, but it's huge and it can make a huge difference. As a matter of fact, this is what we did to help us survive the pandemic. In Dr. Una's practice, we actually did better. Guess what? We actually did better in 2020 than we did in 2019. That's how well this method that I'm telling you about works. Oh my gosh. We had no downtime in 2020 because what we made an effort and we were very intentional about proactively filling up the schedule. Now, here's some of the things we did. Some of the things we did is we called everyone that's overdue. Now, I have a confession to make. I work with physicians all day long. Almost, for years now, at least 10 years now. And guess what? I never go to an appointment unless I'm reminded. That's just human nature. Even an appointment in the clinic, even when my son has an appointment in the clinic that I worked at, I had to be reminded of my appointments, you know. So don't assume people know, or they just forgot, or they just don't want to come. Call them. Everyone that's overdue, call them. Call them, remind them. Whenever I get that text or I get that call, I'm like, oh yeah, he does need his 6-year checkup. So call everyone that's overdue. And then another way you can do that is you can also call those that need follow-up appointments. And you can just tell them, hey, Dr. Makeda said she asked me to call you. Make it personal. Use the doctor card, make it personal. People like that. People like to know that the doctor's thinking about them because the doctor is. If they were supposed to get a follow-up, but for some reason they didn't get a follow-up, they still need it. So get your staff to call them and say, Dr. Makeda asked me to call you. She would love to see you. I have these 2 days available. Which one works for you? That's called assumptive selling. You already tell them what you're going to do and you give them options as if they're already going to say yes. So you just say, which days will work for you? Or which times work for you? These are the times that I have. Or would you like a morning or an afternoon appointment? And then you can, go that way. But it makes a big difference when they hear that the doctor wants to hear from them, that the doctor wants to see them and for that follow-up appointment. And one thing you can do that to make your staff really get good at this and to build the momentum and to stay consistent, which is the hard part, right? One thing you can do is set daily goals for the appointments. Let's say we have a daily goal of 10 appointments a day. We need to make 10 extra appointments a day for us to stay on target. And we're at 5. Guess what? Okay, everyone knows we're at 5. It's 12 p.m. We're at 5 appointments. We have a few hours to get those other 5. So when you set a daily goal, it keeps everybody on track. It keeps everybody engaged. It keeps everybody knowing what's going on and they see their own part in it. and you're going to get a lot more engagement from them that way. And then the other thing is, again, don't look at how simple this is. Just realize that it is powerful. It is powerful if you engage it. Okay. So, number two, proactively fill up that schedule. If you're going to do that, let me know in the comments. I'm going to proactively fill up my schedule. I'm not going to hope they come. I'm going to look for anyone that has a pulse that has ever been in my practice and see what appointment that they need. Okay. Now, number three is collect copays and deductibles and old balances at the time of visit. I talked a little bit about collecting old balances at the time of visit, right? But what about those copays and deductibles? I cannot tell you as a consumer, I'm not a physician, but as a consumer, as a matter of fact, I took my son to the dentist about a month ago. They didn't collect the copay. I had to ask them. And I always ask all the time because I don't want to have a bill. So I always ask, do I have a copay? How much is it? They didn't ask me. They just thought I guess they just figured they'd bill me. But why bill them? And then you have to think about, we have to chase them and hope they pay and spend money for the biller to go after them when all you have to do is ask them at the time of the visit. Get those co-pays and deductibles paid up front. And, streamline the process, right? There's a way you can streamline the process. Look at your process, look at your workflow. What could you guys do in your practice to make everybody remember? With a sticky note help? Would it help if it was a part of your workflow? Like before I give them the form to fill out, I collect the copay. Before they can come back, I collect the copay. Just make it a part of your workflow so that it gets automated. You don't want it to be something like, oh, I forgot. If it's ABC or 1, 2, 3, then they know, oh, copay is number 2. I can't go to number 3 until I've done number 2. Does that make sense? So make sure it's a part of the workflow, part of the daily activities that they do, so it becomes almost automated. And another thing you can do is recognize the staff that do it most. If you've got a few staff, if you've got staff that are cross-trained, and there's one person that always remembers, recognize that person, give them a gas card, buy their lunch, and let everybody know why you recognize them, because what gets rewarded gets repeated. And everyone needs to know how important it is. And they also need to know how them contributing to the bottom line is part of their work, it's part of their job, it's part of their responsibilities in the practice. And then, you want to measure it as well, right? Staying consistent in something is what makes it successful. Doing it once or twice, yeah, it can make a difference, but you probably won't see such a huge measure until you do it over time, right? So how you can make sure you do it over time is to measure it. Let's say, at the end of the week, you have a huddle meeting and it's like, okay, well, guys, this week we saw 100 patients and we collected the co-pays for 70. So next week we're going to push to boost that number up. And then you can also measure it in a way of letting them know, okay, let's assume everybody's copay is $20, which it isn't, but let's assume everybody's copay is $20 and we missed 30 copays. Do the math of how much money we missed this week, right? That's another way of measuring it so that people know how it directly affects their work and how it directly affects the practice. Your team, and when you have team goals and you have team metrics and you reach those goals, those are things that bond the team together even better. And it helps your staff stay engaged even more. And it helps them recognize that you trust them. People feel happy when they know that you trust them with something important, especially something that's important to you. All right. Well, I hope those cash injection strategies worked, made you think about things that can work for you. And let comments which one you're going to try now. Are you going to try to collect old monies? You're going to try to fill your schedule, or you're going to try and collect those co-pays and deductibles and old monies at the time of visit? Which one will you start this week? Choose one and let me know in the comments, because they all can be started, right? But you can start one and go from there. At the end of the day, we want you to have a practice that thrives. We want you to have a practice that allows you to see patients your way. We want you to have a practice that allows you to get paid for what you do. um, both past and present. And we want you to have a practice that gives you enough profitability that you can live the life that you want. It's been my pleasure. Looking forward to seeing you again tomorrow for another exciting live. Dr. Una will be in tomorrow, so don't miss that one. And guess what? Don't forget to take the assessment. Don't forget to get the free chapter of Dr. Una's book, EntreMD.com/private practice book. Until next time.